Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. My name's Jake, and today I'm joined by Chris,
Ames, and Caitlin.
Today, we're going to be talking about 2 Season 3 episodes of Star Trek, the original series. First, we'll discuss the Enterprise incident. Then, we'll be talking about the Paradise Syndrome.
I liked it better when you were Zap Brannigan for a day.
Shut up, bitch!
Wow.
We're getting real here already,
That
guys.
escalated
It's
quickly.
gone to a place.
In the Enterprise incident, Kirk, acting strangely, irritable, and rude to his friends and crew.
Like you, right now?
Oh!
Shut up, loser! Shut your whore mouth! This is my turn to talk. Kirk orders the Enterprise into the Romulan neutral zone. And then into Romulan space, where they're surprised by a Romulan ship that looks just like a Klingon ship because they didn't have the budget for 3 Romulan models. Anyway, turns out...
That's not why, but I'll get to that.
Well, whatever. It was still stupid and weird because why would the Klingon... Fuck it. Anyway, so Kirk is surrounded, and the Enterprise is surrounded by the Romulans. Oh my god. So, they're like, well, why don't you come over and talk to our commander? So they beam over to the Romulan ship, Kirk and Spock. And then Kirk is still acting like a dick, and they meet the Romulan commander, who's a pretty lady. Hubba hubba, ooh la la. Anyway, she says, we're gonna fuck your shit up, guys, because you were in Romulan space, and that's not allowed, and you violated a treaty. And then Kirk's like, I'm a fucking jerk! And then she's like, well, okay, if you acted alone, we won't take it out on your ship and crew. And then she's like, Spock, I want to suck your penis. And then, so she puts...
That's exactly what happened.
She puts Kirk in jail, and then Kirk freaks out and runs into the force field and gets hurt, so they have to call over the doctor. And then the doctor's there is like, we need to get him back to the Enterprise for some surgery or some shit. And then she brings Spock down, and then Spock touches his face and he dies. But he's not really dead. It was the fake Vulcan death grip, which is worse than the Vulcan nerve pinch, but it's the death grip, and it causes death, but not really, because it's made up. And apparently the Romulans know everything about Vulcan culture, except that this is some made-up bullshit that Spock came up with.
That's fair.
Kirk goes back, and then they do him up in makeup, or really fake surgery shit. I don't know why they don't just wear makeup, but they did surgery to make him look like a Romulan. Or really a Vulcan, kinda, because then there's a joke at the end about that. But anyway, Kirk goes over to the Romulan ship. I don't know why it's him and not another guy, since everyone on the Romulan ship has already seen Kirk, so he's not really in disguise. They just be like, wow, that looks just like Kirk, with makeup on. Anyway, he goes to the Romulan ship to steal their cloaking device. Holy crap, guys! They have a cloaking device. This is crazy town. So he steals the cloaking device with some cunning moves. He breaks into the room with the cloaking device and tricks a guy and kicks him in the face, and it's fucking crazy. He beams back, and then meanwhile, Spock and the Romulan lady are getting down, and they're about to do it, and then she finds out that the cloaking device is stolen, and that Spock betrayed her the whole time. Holy crap, Spock! So they go back to the Enterprise, or they beam Spock out, and then she touches him, so she gets beamed out too, which is weird. And then
She really wanted to touch him.
She really wanted to touch him, and then she's now a prisoner on the Enterprise. I don't know why she did that, but whatever, she did it, and the Enterprise escapes, and Scotty hooks up the cloaking device, and they escape from the Romulan. So great Enterprise. That was quite the incident. Anyway, Next episode. The Paradise Syndrome.
Or Tahiti Syndrome.
Or Tahiti Syndrome. You've heard it here, folks.
It's made up bullshit, by the way.
More made up bullshit.
Much like Jake's voice.
Anyway.
He always sounds like this.
Yeah, what are you talking about, lady? This is how I always talk. You stupid whore.
Yep, same old Jake.
In the Paradise Syndrome, we go to a planet. Amarind. Whatever. It's a fucking planet. But they got pine trees and shit, so McCoy's all excited. He loves pine trees.
And honeysuckle.
When he was a kid, he used to climb a pine tree and then jump off it. And that's why his face looks like that.
Wow.
Unbelievably sexy?
I would jump out of a pine tree for that.
Me too.
They're on this planet, and they look across this little lake, and they see some Indians. And by Indians, I mean Native Americans. I don't want to be un-PC, unlike the creators of Star Trek, who made this really fucking weird and racist thing with these Indians. And they're like every Indian stereotype. They're
Native American.
They're a mix of Apache and Delaware and some other Indians.
Navajo, I think?
I don't know. They didn't even know. They just fucking said that shit. Who gives a crap?
Yeah.
Anyway, then they find this crazy weird rock in the woods. And Kirk somehow falls in a trap door that wasn't really a trap door, it was a sliding door. So he didn't notice it was moving. Whatever, Kirk. He falls down, hits his head on his way down the stairs, and then gets electrocuted by a thing. And then he forgets who he is and has this weird internal monologue that's never been used as a device on the show, but now it is.
They couldn't be making captain's logs.
It's not
they had to
because
do
he's
something.
not a captain now. And then, like, he comes out of the thing, and these sexy Indian ladies see him, and they're like, "Ooh, you must be a god." And then he becomes a god, basically. And his name is Kirk, because he couldn't remember his name, but he remembered it started with a K and then with an Rock. And so he's a Kirk. And they call him Kirk. And he bangs her, and they get married, and he finger blasts her in the butthole, probably.
That's why she thought he was a god. No one had ever done that before.
He saves a kid from dying by making out with him.
What? I said the same thing.
Why wasn't that one included in the Kirk kissing montage that we recently linked?
Who knows?
It really was like he forgot he was performing CPR and thought it was makeout time, right? He like devoured that kid's face and then was like, oh, sorry.
He plays the leg pump game. And there's another guy who Kirk steals his job. You know,
And
that's a
woman.
big problem in Star Trek with immigrants taking jobs.
I made a similar joke.
So they should really build a wall around this village. The wall just got 30 feet higher. Anyway, so the Enterprise has to go and stop an asteroid from killing this planet. So they go out into outer space and find the asteroid, and then Spock is a shitty guy, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, overloads the ship. The dilithium crystal runs out of energy. Worst timing. And then they can't stop the asteroid, so they go back to the planet 2 months later, and Kirk is there, and his wife's pregnant, and then they stone them to death. And then they go back in the thing and they save the planet because the thing actually was a giant laser beam, and that's what happened. More or less.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It sounds more like your voice, too.
What are you talking about? He's been talking this way the whole time?
Yeah, what's your deal?
I'm amazed you didn't pass out.
From shock of how great
This
these
is how he
episodes were.
exercises.
So the Enterprise incident. An incident involving the Enterprise.
Yes.
The indecent Enterprise incident.
It's indecent for some.
I liked Romulan Commander Lady.
Yeah, she was nice.
Cool.
I mean, Spock liked her too. I mean,
Yeah.
I liked her
it's
too.
an upgrade over to Pring.
Absolutely.
You know, looks wise, probably on par. I mean, she's a little
On
older,
par far.
a little more mature,
Oh.
look, but definitely not the type to make him fight his best friend to the death.
No,
But she
Just
will.
made her- just
But
made
she
her
will
kill him.
make him take over his ship and steal it, basically.
But only because he deserves it, you know, to be in command. I really liked Command Lady too, except that she's the first female commander we've seen, and she's immediately like hypnotized by Spock's cock. So I have having trouble with those feelings. Felt
Women.
Felt
Am I right?
Seriously,
Hey.
felt a little anti-feminist to me.
Well, I mean, she is. I don't know. You're right. I do got to give them credit though for actually making a female ship captain in the 60s, because that seems a little.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal.
But you're right that they do this seemingly feminist thing and then completely subvert it by making her obsessed with Spock.
Yeah, like even if it had just been revealed that, it was just sort of a recruitment tactic, maybe it would have been a little better.
She really wanted to get into her pretty flouncy dress.
She had an
Show
awesome
it off.
chair.
Oh my god, I want that chair.
That's a great
her
chair.
Her big leather reclining chair.
Yeah.
This woman loved to fucking recline. Every chance she could, she was reclining on something. It's like Riker with the leg up.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently DC Fontana, who wrote the script, did not care for how they kind of like made them go fucking kissy face at each other so much. She thought that was against their characters' motivations.
It certainly felt unusual for Spock.
There was supposed to be like a weird like making out scene that got cut and turned into the hand thing that they do, the Vulcan hand job.
They did two in both places.
So Romulans also have the Vulcan salute?
No, I think
I was very confused by
I think
so
that's
much
just
of
that's
this.
just the Vulcan mating thing.
She's clearly
she's a Romulan.
She's clearly a fetishist. She probably has seen lots of Vulcan porn.
I don't know if they have. And here's
Vulcans don't have porn, Ames.
Well, no. Here's my thing. Here's because I think Jake alluded to it a little bit. Like the last we saw of the Romulans, like we had very, very little contact with them. I don't know how much time has passed in the meantime, but they stay in their zone, we stay in our zone. We only recently learned what they even fucking look like, and yet suddenly now we know everything about them. We know, like that they do the Vulcan salute thing. We know that they have a weird alliance with the Klingons, apparently, and have some of their ships, which I'll explain in a minute, because that was weird.
Was it an alliance, or did they steal the stuff? I felt like the implication was like they'd been nicking their technology.
They
or
said
something.
they used Klingon designs, but didn't get into
Oh,
details
I
to
thought-
whether it was like, trade agreement or if they, again, just stolen them.
I made that shit up in my head then. That's fine.
They speak English now, and they specify that, oh yeah, this is a weird part of English that we still don't quite get. Well, how do you guys know English? You don't talk to us.
I mean, okay,
you stay in
so
your
it's
corner, we stay in
possible-
ours.
It's possible that the Romulans, because we know from later shows that the Romulans have extensive espionage capabilities. So it's possible that they have infiltrated the Federation, and that's how they know everything. It's more surprising to me that Spock seems to know an awful lot about Romulan culture.
Yeah.
When he was
Yeah.
just as shocked as everyone in the last episode with Romulans to discover that they look just like me.
Yeah. He even has a line at one point when they're talking about something on the ship with the Romulan commander. He says, "Oh, I was not aware of that aspect of Romulan society." And I said, "What aspects are you aware of?" "Next to none. You know the stupid hats they wear, and that's it."
Well, maybe he's been reading up, and
There's nothing to read.
Romulan Quarterly or something.
I mean, it is theoretically possible. And I mean, this is a bit of a stretch, but why not? It sounds like, in Balance of Terror, the implication was that the Romulans were ramping stuff up after nearly a century of keeping to themselves. So, in the interim, if they had been kind of ramping up their presence and this, that, and the other thing, you would, the Federation would probably increase their intelligence operations.
True.
Even just information gathering, maybe find cultures that have had contact with them and get more data. And Spock, it's not too much of a leap to say that, what information there is, even if it's not loads, Spock would have been interested and read it because, again, it is this sort of, this offshoot of his own people.
True.
Because even in Balance of Terror, he does mention, there'd kind of been rumors that maybe, and here it is.
Oh, and he does know that in prep for this mission that is actually from the rest of the Federation to go and try to steal the cloaking device.
So they may have been
They probably
given,
did some homework.
Yeah, what dossiers they may have had. If any.
And apparently only Kirk and Spock knew about it this whole time.
Now, admittedly, it does seem like a lot of information for the Federation to have gathered in the space of a year-ish.
Ish.
So, well done, Starfleet intelligence, but, geez.
Well, I mean, there's also other ways that information passes. Too.
They must have sent
No,
Nomad
There's
in.
probably
Well, that's how they decapitated it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Cut
cut
off
off
the
cloaking
cloaking
device.
device,
They
yeah.
they when a Nomad and a Zoltar love each other. Sargon love each other very much. They form a cloaking device.
Aw. I do miss
A
Nomad.
tale as old as time.
I'll accept that they know more about each other, but it was a little weird that they do suddenly seem to know everything.
Yeah, like
Well,
they know a lot.
Especially when... So Kirk smuggles the cloaking device off the ship, and they find out that Spock's been sending messages and is, in collusion or whatever. And so they're like, well, you're going to be put to death. And he's like, wait, but I would like to invoke the Romulan right to statement. And it's like, how the fuck did you know that?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
knows
Like,
enough
that
about
seems
Romulan.
How many
Really specific.
Federation guys have we sent over who've gotten themselves executed first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also the Romulans, I'll give the Romulans this. They are like the fairest people in space.
Yeah.
Because it's like, we've got your ship surrounded. We are well within our rights to blow you out of the sky, but we're not gonna. And yeah, it's like, well, yeah, they want to capture the Enterprise in one piece, good intelligence and all that, and that part sort of makes
And
sense.
blowing them up wouldn't make for a good episode.
Yeah, but then also there's like, the commander goes out of her way to like get a statement and this and that. She doesn't immediately try to like turn this into a big political victory for the Romulans, She's like, first, I'm going to go out of my way to figure out whether or not you're working on your own or if this is on Federation orders, because I'm not going to go just shouting espionage from the rooftops without all kinds of proof, even though you'd think a Federation ship being well within your space is proof enough.
Well, that's because she's a woman and has no ambition.
Well, I don't know.
She works off of her emotions and shit.
Here's my counter argument to that, is that, first of all, if they had just destroyed the Enterprise, sure, they might be in their right to do so.
Yeah.
But it still would have been a provocation. Like, it would have
that's
escalated.
true.
So that, so they probably don't want to start an open war.
No, that is true.
And then the other point is that she probably immediately suspects that the reason that they're there is because they know about the cloaking device. So she might be doing her own intelligence operation to find out how much does the Federation know about our cloaking technology.
Yeah, I kept expecting that to be why she was wooing Spock so hard, as because it's basically
Hard
the
is
Kirk.
right.
It's the Kirk maneuver. It's the I'll make out with your face so that you give me information, and maybe I'll kiss back.
Now, here's the thing. Evidently, Spock, after this particular event, Spock just had a hard-on for all things Romulan for the rest of time.
That is the exact thing I said.
Because he fucking loves Romulans. In TNG...
As much as he loves Nazism?
Almost. Maybe it's because they have such an oppressive, militaristic society.
They're super efficient.
They're super efficient. But no, like in TNG, he goes to Romulus because he loves them so much and wants them to reunite, end the schism between the Romulans and the Vulcans. And then, like, he has to save them in Star Trek 2009 movie with red matter.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
But he tries.
He tries real hard because I don't know, there's some scenes in this episode where we don't really see what happened. It's possible that he sired a child with the Romulan commander.
That'd be a good twist.
Yeah, and that's why he loves Romulan so much. He's helping out his son.
From what I read, they
We
actually
don't know.
Could be.
they tried to get the actress back for an episode of TNG, but she wasn't available.
Oh, really? That would have
Yeah.
been cool.
I forget which episode,
Although,
unfortunately.
I don't know. I really like TNG's Romulan antagonists. I like the people they get. I mean, honestly, for me, the Romulans, in terms of like the recurring antagonists in Star Trek, in terms of the species and stuff, Romulans are my favorite.
Are they?
Yeah, I mean, Klingons, the thing is, everybody else is so one-dimensional. The Klingons, one-dimensional. Although, I mean, they do get some depth with when we, that we get through Worf's storylines. But by and large, warlike species. Klingon. Yeah, the Borg obviously have one fucking mission. The Cardassians, also, they do get some depth, but,
Shut up. You don't badmouth my Cardassians.
I mean, I like the honestly, probably my favorite antagonist character in all of Star Trek is Dukat.
Love him.
But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the Romulans are one of those areas that they're just so fascinating. It's that level-headedness, the fact that they are very fair. It seems.
Which we saw in was Balancetera the other one?
Yeah.
Yeah, when their commander speaks with them over the relay that in another world we could have been friends. Sadly, we have to blow ourselves up now. So long.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one, and it's also I think part of the reason is they through all of Star Trek they've never overdone it with the Romulans. We get a few episodes here and there. We catch glimpses.
Yeah, I think they're meant to be kind of enigmatic.
Yeah,
which is why the fact that Spock knows everything about them now is a little strange.
Obviously, the parallel is the Ruskies. That it's like the other, like they are the other power in the galaxy.
Well, see, what I'd always kind of read the Romulans as, because if you think that, especially in the original series, when the Klingons are less what we'll come to know them as, like the Klingons I always figured were the Russians, and then with sort of the Vulcans and the Romulans, what I always kind of read that as is because obviously there's a lot of 60s Orientalism in the Vulcans. So I kind of always read that as like the Vulcans are the East Asian countries we're allied with. Like
South Korea,
South
Japan,
Vietnam, things like that. And then you can almost have the Romulans as sort of the communist East Asians.
That's a good point.
Especially when you get in Balance of Terror, there is that, oh my god, they look just like Vulcans! And all that. And there's that very sort of that. I mean, look at America during World War II. It was, we were officially rounding up, the Japanese, but anyone of East Asian descent was getting a lot of flack in the streets from locals.
Well, I mean,
why ain't you in a camp? It's like, I'm Chinese!
I mean, not a week goes by where you don't hear about some, incident involving a Sikh and someone harassing a Sikh.
Yeah.
Once Khan comes to power, though,
the
Sikhs will get their revenge.
That's true.
Those racist fucks.
But yeah, that's how I always sort of saw them, as they are, I always thought, they are similarly, fuck me. Similarly communist, but again, sort of probably the East Asian communists as opposed to the Russians.
Well, that's the thing, I feel like a very simplistic, I don't know. See, I look at the Romulans and the Federation, and I'm using context not just from the original series, I'm using it from all series. The Romulans and the Federation are very much peers. They have very similar levels of technology, and that's why I see the Soviet Union parallel there. Mm-hmm. But I see what you're saying with the Klingons, and it definitely seems like that was what they were trying to do with the Klingons maybe in the original series. Yeah,
and that obviously shifted drastically once you got to TNG and all that, and they sort of became less... Once they changed the culture so dramatically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, if we're looking at Star Trek VI, which was a complete Cold War parallel movie, they are trying to portray the Klingons as the Soviet Union. But...
Yeah, I mean, you've got Praxis as sort of a Chernobyl parallel even.
So, but then again, I feel like the Klingons were never developed enough...
No, that's true.
...to really do that. They just seem so one-dimensional. So, I don't know. I always feel like the simplistic view that Star Trek has of the Soviet Union is the Klingons as this warlike antagonist. Yeah. And then the Romulans are a more nuanced approach to that same thing. But it's just me. I don't know. I don't know nothing.
So something you guys probably didn't see, because you guys watched on the original, we watched the remaster.
Mostly. The disc started fucking up at the very end, so the last literally 8 minutes we watched on Netflix.
Oh, funny.
So, and I even went back because I wanted to see what the cloaking effect on the Enterprise looked like in the original.
Oh.
If it just faded or if it went boing, and I never did find out. I couldn't get it to work.
It just kind of faded out, didn't it?
Well, yeah, in the Netflix version, it did this sort of... It faded out very nicely, and there were some sections that faded a little later than others. I kind of want to know what they did in the original, but I have no idea.
I don't know. But in the remaster, what they did, so as we were talking about why they have a Klingon ship. Why did the Romulans fly something that looks like a Klingon ship, even though we haven't seen these Klingon ships yet, because they produced the episodes out of order.
Oh, really? You've never seen the D7 class?
That's what I'm assuming.
I guess, have we ever seen Klingons in space? I feel like we always run into them on a planet.
Oh, I don't remember.
They were...
Did you see them in Trouble with Tribbles?
That was only on Space Station K5.
No, but they were kind of you've got a Klingon vessel hanging.
Yeah, I don't know if we
That's what I'm
see
wondering.
it or not.
I don't remember.
Well, anyway, carry
Anyway,
on.
yeah, we saw in the remaster they actually had a Romulan bird of prey flying around.
Yeah.
And you can see the bottom had the nice paint job, whilst in the original versions they were just nothing but Klingon ships flying around.
Yeah.
And there are several stories as to why this is. The first being that they wanted to establish the Klingon ship so that they could sell toy versions of it. So they wanted to see more and more of it so that they could sell them. But the funner story is that the props designer, I hope I'm not going to mispronounce his name terribly, Hua Chang, was not in the props making union. And when he made the Romulan bird of prey for an earlier episode, they refused to pay him for it because the union was throwing a stink because he is not a member. So they wouldn't pay him for this model that they were trying to say, oh, no, it wasn't specifically built for Star Trek, therefore we can pay him for it. But he totally built it just for Star Trek.
I mean, it had cells, for God's sake.
They returned it to him, and the story goes that he was so angry that he took a sledgehammer to it and destroyed it.
Oh.
The other story is that it's just lost somewhere, but that's the one that I think has been in a NPR interview with him, saying, so what happened to it? He's like, fuck that thing. Fuck it. Hate it.
Yeah, I mean...
He's actually been using it as a fruit bowl since 1970.
It seems like such a needless throwaway thing to first, for some... I can't remember who said it. Like, oh, they're using a Klingon design.
Spock.
Was it Spock that said that? Like, I don't know. Maybe... I just assumed it was because... Like, maybe, yes, the Romulan model did get destroyed or lost. And I believe that. But at the same time, like, they still could have just had another model. Oh, thank you, Black Cat. Oh.
Someone's being very feist.
He's too stimulated.
He's a feisty boy today.
You want to go away? Okay.
Send him to the brig. Send him to the brig where apparently we never took those captive Romulans out of. They're just naked because they took their clothes and they never got sent back.
The funny thing though is that they're told to take them to the brig later. Where had they been before then? Just standing angrily in the transporter
They're just in
room?
a hallway. They just let fucking prisoners
Everyone,
roam all over the place.
Maybe they went to the mess.
Why did the Romulan... It's not like they beamed them up by surprise. The Romulan hostages knew that that's what was happening. Yet they still drew their weapons when they arrived.
And Scotty had to give them a guys kind of look.
Maybe they were expecting an ambush. They thought they couldn't trust them or something.
Maybe.
That's the only logical explanation, because otherwise it is...
No, they saw Scotty's hair and said, what the hell?
Accurate.
Poor Scott.
So here's another problem that I have, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this episode overall, I like the idea. I like the idea of, like, Kirk's got to kind of play crazy to help make it look like this is a lone wolf operation, because that's actually very much the starting point for The Spy Who Came in for the Cold. From the Cold, rather.
What's that?
It's a big Cold War espionage novel. It's one that really put John le Carré on the map. And the whole premise is very, this is the beginning of the novel, we're not giving anything away. Basically, they go to this spy, Alec Lemus, and they say, Lemus, we want a double agent. So what we're going to do is you're going to very publicly lose your job, and you're going to start, air quotes, boozing and slacking off and this and that, so that, the Russians will see you as this disaffected British agent and hopefully make overtures to you. And then it kind of goes from there.
It's funny. Last week we were talking about the ploy of, get yourself captured so that you can work from within.
Yeah.
And this episode they did that very, very explicitly.
It's true.
Yeah, and I really appreciated it. If the first if the first Romulan episode, Balance of Terror, was a submarine movie in space, I mean, this was clearly a spy movie in space.
Oh, I haven't said what the base for this episode was.
Oh,
This was based off of the Pueblo incident, the Pueblo being a U.S. Navy ship that was captured in North Korea in 1968, in January 1968. And considering this episode was aired in September 1968, they were still captives.
Wow.
They were still captives until December of that year when they were released, sent over the, Bridge of No Return or whatever, after having, been tortured and this and that. And, yeah.
Huh, wow.
Scary fucking shit.
But yeah, so I like the setup. There's some weirdness, the whole, Romulan commander there just being, just sort of unironically just really into Spock. But the one thing that threw me at this whole thing was, guys, you're sending her back? Like, surely she's gonna blow the lid on the fact this actually was a Federation-approved operation. And that's a problem. Because, like, the whole thing had been they had to make this look like a lone wolf incident so it wouldn't cause as much trouble, right?
Well, I think possibly that was the original plan, but I think once it was clear that Spock was being duplicitous and they were escaping with the stolen cloaking device, the Romulans would have figured it out.
I mean, you still could have played that off as like, all right, so maybe the first officer was involved. Maybe, but you could still maybe have passed it off as this was Kirk and maybe some of his people
Or
overstepping their bounds.
Even Spock didn't even necessarily have to be involved. He just didn't want to defect.
There's an absolutely fantastic Next Generation episode that kind of deals with this in a similar way. One of the best episodes, it's called The Wounded, where a rogue starship captain believes that the Cardassians are amassing forces for an attack and goes rogue and like takes his ship and just starts attacking Cardassians.
Oh, Jesus.
In Cardassian space, and Picard and the Enterprise get the task of chasing down this guy. So, I mean, rogue starship captains are a thing that happen.
High-ranking Starfleet personnel go nuts constantly, as we've discussed.
It's true.
But it does seem like by the end, she knows full well, like, oh no, this was a whole Federation-approved deal, and now they're just going to, like, send her back to tell the Empire this. That seems a problem, guys.
I think she's too in love with Spock to tell them anything.
Maybe.
So, what did you see when you were over there? I don't know. They had food cubes like us. They were tasty.
A nice food cube.
Alternately, I guess, a way to save face for herself. You know? I mean, it's a bad situation regardless, but if it was... Yeah, I don't know. I guess they'll try to play it off as like maybe people wouldn't care, because, we'll figure out how to see through the cloak soon anyway. Yeah, I know. Which, actually, nope.
Well, they could have changed the cloak.
No, that's true. That exact...
Yeah, new cloak.
And, it is
Emperor's new
possible to
cloak.
see through the cloak, as we find out in other shows. It's just...
There's always a trick.
You have to be doing something very specific to make it work.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is there's already been, development, because, of course, the first time we see a cloak in Balance of Terror, it just masks them visually, but not from sensors.
The selective bending of light.
Yeah, whereas this one seems to be like a cloak more as we come to know it in later series, where, like, you can't see him, with the naked eye or with sensors.
And they can still travel. I feel like in Balance of Terror, they couldn't travel while cloaked.
I was wondering that too. Did they have to just be set still? I was thinking that also.
Maybe, I don't remember.
I think that's what happened.
Or were they at least had to travel at, like, lower speeds or something.
Notably, in later series, the other power that has cloaking technology is the Klingons.
Yeah.
So now I'm wondering if the Klingon ship designs was in exchange
Quid pro quo.
for...
Klingons love to fucking, like, rough shit up.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Klingons have...
They're the chaos theorists.
I don't
They're
know
like
if it's-
fucking Baelish in Game of Thrones.
See, I don't know if it's
Except
ever
not nearly as
explicitly
sexy.
stated.
Oh, his fucking coat thing.
But
I love
the,
him. I love him. Yeah.
I mean, so obviously we do see the D7 style cruiser again.
Yeah.
I don't know if we see it. Do we see it in the original series? I don't know. We must.
Day of the Dove, isn't it?
Maybe. But we see it in the movies.
All the time.
And it's always a Klingon ship in the movies.
Yeah.
And it has cloaking technology. So I'm wondering if perhaps it was a co-development where the Klingons worked with the Romulans to develop this ship with cloaking technology. And
Maybe.
that would explain... I mean, the other thing, too, though, is that the Klingons hate the Romulans, by and large.
Yeah.
There's a few houses, Duras, that regularly work with the Romulans. By and large, Klingons view Romulans as without honor.
Is there anyone the Klingons like at this point?
I don't know.
I was going to say other Klingons, but even that's
Yeah.
not
That's
necessarily...
not all the
Yeah.
time.
Of course, but again, if we assume maybe the Romulans became themselves from the Federation, maybe they also hadn't been dealing much with the Klingons before now either. So this could have been a period where the Klingons would work with them and then eventually realized, wait a minute,
You have
I
no
mean, I'm
honor.
sure-
we hate
I'm
these
sure. I'm
guys.
sure the attack on the Kittimer
Didn't help.
Didn't help. Yeah.
All right. Well, if we're saying that maybe the Romulans and the Klingons, they worked together in some way, and the cloaking works on both their ships. How the hell was it also compliant to the Enterprise?
Scotty is a magician.
Yeah.
I mean, he hooked it up.
I mean, that's like if you travel out of the country, you can't plug things into the fucking wall socket. Like,
That's
somehow this
they
thing
had a
works.
Romulan adapter.
No, that's the fucking Andorian one. I said Romulan.
It'd be great if Scotty's like, that on a 220 volt system. We're 120.
Christ. It's like that time I went to Budapest and they had that weird oval shaped thing.
Ooh,
No, but
that's for your dick, right?
oh my. No, that's yeah, okay.
Wow, that's a rare moment.
Did I say touch dicks during this episode or the second episode?
One of them. I don't remember
Spock
which.
definitely wanted to touch dicks with the Romulan commander.
I hope it wasn't during the CPR
Oh.
on that kid.
It
My.
was this one.
I
It was.
hope it wasn't also.
It was during that scene where him and Spock were like facing off back when they were still
There were
acting
so
like
many
Spock wasn't
intense-
in on it.
There were so many intense zoom-ins
Oh.
on Kirk's face.
Oh god, it is. I'll kill you! Like,
I'll
he was
kill
just
you!
snarling, and I was.
God.
Don't
The
hurt
whole-
yourself, Walter, was said like dozens of times this
Twitching
episode.
Kirk was doing after he blasted himself with the force field. When,
Oh, I like that though.
when McCoy was that was great. McCoy was examining his right hand, just giving like.
Well, clearly he was very powerful.
Yeah, committed to the bit.
I do really appreciate some of the over the top Kirk anger.
There was so
acting.
much of it in this one.
I kill you!
Yeah, he was on fire this episode.
Yeah.
I fucking loved when, I think it was Scotty on the bridge saying, like, no, we won't follow you. We won't follow you because we still will only follow the captain, Kirk, even though he's pretending to be crazy. He's like, yeah, you won't.
Man.
I'm the best.
Yeah, and like kudos to Kirk for like he must have gotten these orders weeks ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, all right, well, I got to start treating my crew like shit until we get to this
Oh, I
point.
bet he loved it.
And
I would have loved
and
it.
so like because he had to establish that he was unstable, evidently.
Yeah.
And he had to make McCoy believe it. That was the most
Yeah.
important bit.
Yeah.
But of course, see,
Why
that's-
couldn't McCoy lie too?
Yeah, that's what I don't
Easily
get
have
because
lied.
by the time McCoy even makes contact with the Romulans, he already knows.
Guys, you know how McCoy is. You tell him a secret, he fucking drinks.
He tells
The
Chapel.
whole fucking ship would have known.
Yes.
Well, he doesn't know officially until he gets Kirk back onto the Enterprise.
Oh, that was after
I thought he said I didn't know until I beamed over to the Romulan ship. Maybe I misheard.
Did maybe Spock filled him in while Kirk was fake dead, or
I think
fake,
that was
fake hurt? Or...
I think that's what was supposed to have happened.
I
I'm
don't
a little
know.
vague. Oh God! Speaking of fake dead, though, when he
the
opens
face pinch.
his eyes in the
In
sick
sick
bay
bay.
and Chapel sees it, and then a second later he closes his eyes. But they had clearly just reversed the footage of him opening his eyes. Because apparently they forgot to get a shot of him closing them.
That was odd.
Super weird.
Well, it's probably because they filmed the eyes opening and then they were filming the wider shot and he had his eyes closed. And they're like, oh shit, we should have had him open his eyes for this wide shot.
Yeah, maybe
So
that's
now we have
probably
to
what it
show
was.
him opening his eyes in the close-up.
Now let's get him into surgery because apparently we've never heard of rubber and spirit gum.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that comes up multiple times where every time they need to disguise themselves, and it's like, well, because you could be like, well, makeup would be detected or something like that, but so you could also be like, yeah, anyone with a fucking tricorder
Yep.
could be like, yep, nope, that is a human.
Yeah. Well, and what I love too is when they'll do it, because I've seen other episodes where they do it, and it's like, even when they're going to, say, worlds that are way less advanced, like, they're not going to do a scan. The makeup will do. And even to its credit, that's one of the things Enterprise does a lot, is they'll visit alien, well, not a lot, they do it a couple times when they're visiting alien worlds, and they just use fucking prosthetics. It's still the Doctor, it just happens that their ship's Doctor is also really good at applying.
I would have really loved it if they had introduced a character of the ship's makeup artist.
It's a 500-person crew. They probably have a community theater.
Yeah.
Well, they got that space freight, as we found out.
And bowling.
Yeah. But yeah, because you figured he could hang out with the ship's costume designer that we made up
Yes.
either last week or 2 weeks ago. They just
Get him more hats.
Yes, just a whole theatrical department on the Enterprise.
Now, do we think the costumer or the makeup designer handles the wigs? It's very important.
I think it's got to be a team effort. I feel like both
Look,
of them have to have a say to make sure it'll work.
They've
out.
got a really big crew. They have a wig wrangler.
So I have two questions, though. If they're able to do effective, believable, doesn't leave behind any marks, even though he literally just had plastic surgery. Why, one, have they never done plastic surgery on Spock before sending him someplace where his fucking ears are going to get him in trouble?
Yep.
And
I had that
two,
thought.
why can't they stop the internal injuries that what's-her-name has in the next episode?
Miramani.
Because it would have been really inconvenient for Kirk to have
A kid?
a bastard child.
That he leaves.
That he abandons.
on a planet.
I told Chris that I was hoping that when because I knew she was going to say she was pregnant, so I was like, I hope when she says she's pregnant, that's what snaps him out of it. And he's like, ah! Jesus Christ, not me, not James T. Kirk.
I'm bearing your son. And Kirk's like, you gotta flush it out.
Beam me up, Scotty! What does that mean? I don't know, but it seems appropriate!
How is it that Kirk has not yet had a vasectomy, considering all of the alien tail he gets? I don't know. I figure like the first thing he would do as a starship captain would be like set up the appointment with McCoy to be like snip snap.
Well, he's probably got one of those. Have you heard about this thing where there's like a little switch? This is real.
What?
I heard about this.
A uterine switch?
No, it's not for the ladies.
Oh,
it's for the gentlemen, and it
stroke
basically
switch.
Yeah, so it basically like is in your torso, and it makes it so that you can like basically turn like open or close your Vans deferens or wherever the spermsies come from.
Wow.
So, sorry, are we transitioning to incredibly racist episode, or do we still have thoughts on
that's
slightly
my
sexist episode?
My
The
bad.
only other thing I had was Bones has a lot of weird skulls in his room.
Oh, he's a collector.
Oh yeah, he's had those for a while.
Rare
Yeah, has he? I
skulls.
haven't noticed him before.
He's always had the strange skulls.
Okay.
Those go back to at least season 2.
Has
if
he
not
killed a
season
lot
1.
of men? Is that what we're discussing?
It's all his failed patients. That's why they're all alien skulls, because he's just like, I don't know their physio. Oh, fuck.
Nah.
Chapel, get the vat of... What is it that, like, dissolves?
Lye?
Yeah, get the vat of lye.
Or lime? Is it lime or lye?
I think it's lye.
Whatever.
Either
Something
way.
with an L.
Yeah.
Was that the first time that he did like a medical officer's log or whatever?
No, I feel like we've had at least one before.
Oh well, I think was it the first time we opened with one like that?
Yeah,
It
that
was definitely.
much, yeah.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I was
he
happy to
opened
hear
with it.
that.
Another thing
Me
I
too.
noticed, I noticed it last week and I didn't mention it, but season 3 we've transitioned to blue.
I meant to mention that last week too, yeah.
We used to have yellow credits, now we have blue credits.
Speaking of blue credits, was this the first time we saw Romulan ale?
Oh yeah, they didn't
Yeah.
call it that, but she did offer him a big blue drink.
And then
She also offered him Tranya, I think. It's definitely orange.
Tranya.
But yeah, I was thinking that. Oh, also at
Looked
the very least...
pulpier than Tranya.
True.
Looked like
Romulus further.
Unfiltered
mango orange
Tranya.
juice.
Also, I think his first reference to humans is Terrans in this series.
Mm.
Not that comes up a ton, but, you know.
Yeah, I gotta give Spock a lot of credit for his acting. He had me convinced. Not really, because I knew what happened, but...
Well, see, that's actually... that's the thing, is I remembered enough of this episode that I knew Kirk was faking it, but I couldn't remember who, if anyone else, was in on it. So I was genuinely not sure with Spock for a little while.
Spock's I cannot tell a lie, evidently a lie.
Oh, of course
Yep.
it's a lie.
'Cause, again, as
Like your fucking face pinch is a
I've
lie.
said before, the only source we have on this Vulcans can't lie thing is the Vulcans in the credulity of the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, and, you know, Vulcans lie all the fucking time.
Of course, you kind of wonder, though, was all of his sort of frustration with the racism of Starfleet, was any of that real?
Probably.
You know, like, at the end of the day, he's like, I mean, she's not wrong, so...
Yeah, but if you'd seen Enterprise, you would know that it started out the other way, and the Vulcans are the dickhead
Oh, they
racists.
were the worst.
And then
Everyone's a racist, though.
It's
probably
only
how it
fair.
is.
Yeah,
that
but the
the
Vulcans
tables
were
have turned.
real assholes in Enterprise. Like, they are real assholes.
I did make a stupid joke during the Paradise Syndrome, as we're segueing in, when McCoy was telling Spock that he needed to fucking take a goddamn nap or he'd go, crazy. And Spock lays down on the bed. I'm like, that's how Vulcans lie.
Very good.
Did you see,
Did I see?
very briefly when he lies down, he's got a Jingly
A boner?
Bells thing
Oh, I
on
didn't.
his shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a Jingly Bells thing right next to a bust of what appears to be his own head.
I missed all of this.
Like,
I,
it's-
I suggested it was like a wedding present, that they wound
From
up giving to
Spring?
him. That they wound up giving to him anyway, because they were just kind of like, we can't return this.
Oh.
It's in your
we
likeness.
can't give it to anybody else.
I mean, it's probably supposed to be some other important Vulcan, but clearly whoever on the set design team made it was just like, had a picture of Nimoy to base it off of and went, oh well. But yeah, he's got a Jingly Bells thing and his own head.
Yeah,
Vulcans
so this
lie.
episode, Paradise Syndrome.
I don't think it was that bad. I just don't see why
No.
it had to be Native Americans.
And that's the thing. I honestly feel like if you took out the fact that they were Native Americans, and if you took out the whole shit about the fucking preservers.
When they said that, I was like, oh man, Jake's gonna be so mad.
Yeah, if they just had a magical asteroid deflecting device that was just there for no
an
reason.
Ancient society, a society in space.
I would believe that.
Maybe they had been advanced and then something happened.
Yeah, like the what was it? The Planet 6 from
so that,
Spock's brain. How they have random shit like that.
Yeah, the few people that are left have regressed to a much less advanced state. So the control of this machine has become sort of a religious tradition instead of just an instruction manual. You could have had the same basic story without it being so uncomfortable so much of the time.
Yeah, the Kirk having amnesia and wanting to join up with another race of people and like, have a normal life
still works.
Was actually kind of neat.
You know what it kind of reminded me of too, in a way? Is,
Avatar.
Sure.
Avatar.
Fern Gully.
Don't bother.
We
Dances
love
with
Same
Wolves.
thing. Yeah, Fern Gully's wonderful. Dances with Wolves.
No, it reminded me of the TNG episode The Inner Light, where Picard, he doesn't have amnesia, but he gets to live a second life.
Oh, that's when he gets the little flute, right?
Yeah, he gets the flute.
This is
like all I remember about it.
And yeah, I don't know, there was when Kirk was sort of like teaching the native people of this world.
Like irrigation and
like,
stuff.
Yeah, like stuff about
I
irrigation.
made a lamp.
And the lamp, I was like, oh, that's just like the crap that Picard was doing in The Inner Light, where he was taking his knowledge from outside his double life and applying it in this world.
That was also actually, though, part of the thing that made it so weird. Is like, we don't know exactly when the preservers had nicked these people from.
That was weird. That was stupid and weird.
Now, there's two possibilities, as I see it. Either not long before the earliest European settlers, or sometime around the mid-19th century when Andrew Jackson was going apeshit and murdering as many Native Americans as he could. The reason I say right before the first European settlers is, the problem is this might be a recent revelation, I don't know. But part of the reason the European settlers had such sort of an easy time sort of steaming over the native population wasn't just the more advanced technology.
Oh, they had a plague, right?
They just had a massive plague.
Yeah.
And that from sort of an almost, to use terminology of whatever, for all intents and purposes, that was almost post-apocalyptic North America they found.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
The population had been severely depleted.
Interesting. I didn't know that either.
Across, like many tribes, or what?
Yeah, basically across the whole continent, there'd been this massive plague. Again, this may not have been known until recently, and I even think now it's maybe still at least partly sort of guesswork. But yeah, there had been a massive loss of life not long before the first settlers really got there. So either which way, that's why I think maybe that's a chance, because they say they wait till they're almost extinct. So either way, whether it's the, mid-1400s or the mid-19th century, these people were plucked from Earth several centuries ago and have not advanced
Like Gary 7.
at all.
Like Gary 7.
But he was given all these toys and they, it sounds like these preservers pluck people up. We're like, all right, here's a planet. This thing will keep you safe from asteroids. When it gets windy, just turn it on. Go nuts. And the fact that they didn't invent a thing. And also, look, so my public school system has failed me. I know basically nothing about Native Americans, because that's unfortunately how American education largely works.
Well,
but I'm
25 years ago.
Pretty sure they would have had methods of preservation of food.
Or at least known,
irrigation.
Preserve as a verb.
Yeah, lamps.
Well, because the preservers made sure not to teach them that word.
Ironically.
Because they didn't want to know who they were.
Yeah. Even if there hadn't maybe been the lamp, they knew what fire was, and they knew that it had light.
Was definitely some problematic shit with...
Well, it was like...
teach us, the Indians had irrigation.
Yeah.
This isn't like...
They taught the settlers a lot about farming when they got here.
Yeah, no shit.
But they're, it sounds like, basically barely living on a subsistence culture at this level.
Yet they got tons of fruit.
Shitloads.
So much fruit.
So many apples and so many grapes.
There was, the props budget was just so low. It's like, fuck, go to the supermarket and get whatever's cheap.
Well, I can imagine that the preservers brought over plant species.
They had to have, because that's the only way to explain.
I mean, they make such a point saying, wow, these are exactly the kind of tree species on Earth. What are the odds? Pretty fucking high, Star Trek. I've come across so many of them.
That was the first thing I said. Like, even though I kind of... Like, I don't know if I ever saw this one or just read about it or what. Like, this one I didn't remember well at all if I have seen it. But I knew, it's like, all right, I know there's an explanation for the Native Americans. I know they are literally Native Americans. I'm still, like... The fact that Spock is like, what are the odds? Can I direct your attention to a few weeks ago when you went to Space Rome?
Yeah.
Space Rome.
I'd have to say, though, of all of the times when Star Trek has tried to come up with an explanation for why there's humanoids all over space, between the one with the jizzing on all the planets people, and was that Sargon or was that somebody else?
Yeah, it was Sargon.
Was that Sargon? Okay.
Spread their seeds.
They spread their seeds, yeah.
From Sargon to the people in the Chase who also jizz on planets.
And now these guys.
I think the preservers, the idea of the preservers, I think is the best one yet.
Yeah, but the species have to already exist.
Well, right, because exactly.
And they just pluck them and say, you know what, you're going to live on this planet now. Like when you're I used to play a lot of Roller Coaster Tycoon. You just pick up one of your little guys and we'll go put him in the lake.
Yeah, and
this
honestly,
guy didn't like my roller coaster. I'm going to drown him.
That's more realistic to me than we jizzed on your planet and hoped you'd evolve.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Jizzed on lots of planets and hope that a couple. There's two theories to reproduction. It's you either have a lot and hope a couple survive, or you put a lot of time and effort into raising 2 or 3.
It really, what it comes down to is just the universe, or the galaxy at least, is an awful conglomeration of zoological experiments and alien jizz everywhere. It's a weird, creepy, spoogy galaxy.
I believe it.
Aside from, I feel like if we make this conversation too much about the fact that they're Native Americans, then we'll never actually talk about the meat of the episode. And
Breaking the prime directive again.
So hard!
McCoy gets there and says, should we warn them there's an asteroid coming? McCoy, what the fuck is wrong with you?
No, we'll just destroy the asteroid. Yeah, that seems to me like just destroying the asteroid is a major violation of the Prime Directive.
Yeah.
That's true. And they can't defend themselves because their current medicine chief, or whatever the fuck he was, never learned how to work the obelisk because
his dad died early, apparently.
Even if his dad died early, he's a grown guy. He should have been taught earlier. I think it's just that he's a fuck up and no one wanted to teach him.
I like it. You don't need to learn anything. You just need to know the password, which is Kirk to Enterprise.
And I Captain, maybe.
Which pissed me off so much, by the way. The fact
did it need the of the
That's an excellent question.
Communicator first?
I think it needed everything. I think it needed Kirk to Enterprise, and I Captain. I think it needed the whole thing.
Like, that really, all right, so it wasn't...
In a Scottish accent?
Yeah.
It wasn't parallel development, which I appreciate, but this unique alien language just happened to have the password be Kirk to Enterprise. So think about it, this means every time over the centuries, they've had to turn that on. And how often are they getting bombarded by anyway?
They said twice before. The sky went dark and they had to do the thing.
So this place is in
the
a bad
one.
location.
Apparently.
But
Asteroid Village.
Some medicine chief in that stupid medallion headband had to go up, spread his arms wide, and go, Kirk to Enterprise.
No. Kirk to Enterprise. I Captain.
That pissed me off so much.
Yeah, I was like, on a scale of 1 to parallel development, how do you feel about that? Have you decided whether or not if it's better
Still
or worse?
not sure.
Maybe it's a time loop. Maybe it's a causality thing where the preservers actually came later and went back in time, built this obelisk, and their sacred words are Kirk to Enterprise.
Maybe.
Ugh.
That sounds vaguely like one of the scrapped ideas for what would become Star Trek the Motion Picture, where it was called Return of the Titans. In short version, it was all a time loop thing, and the Enterprise were the Titans.
Well, as long as they don't release the Kraken.
Yeah.
Tell you, Kirk
That's
released the Kraken on that planet.
All the other stuff aside, let's in our minds, pretend they were just aliens.
That's what I'm trying to do.
And you could still be like, you can tell, like, all right, I feel like there's maybe some white savior stuff going on in this and then blah. Ignoring even all of that, I still don't think it's a very good episode.
No, there's like about 15 minutes of Kirk frolicking in fields.
Shirtless.
I'm so happy.
Every time you hold me, it's like the first time.
It's as joyous as the first.
It feels like the first time.
Like, if more of the episode could have been cutting back to the Enterprise with Scotty desperately trying to get the ship working. Because I love the fact that they just went backwards for 2 months.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, I cannot believe
Why couldn't he turn around and they could just
I
look
don't
out the other window?
that Montgomery Scott couldn't have figured something out.
In 2 months?
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember when we went to Mud Planet, we had, 7 days to unfreeze fucking Norman, and no one did anything?
Yeah, they were hanging coats on him, drawing dicks on his face. Nobody was trying to figure out
Well, but
how
see,
to work
that,
him.
now being fair, that is super advanced robot tech Scotty's not familiar with.
Okay.
This is his baby.
That's true.
That
But
he has
Spock-
personally
Well,
strung
Spock
back
is
to
ran out
mis-
of gas.
Spock is
They ran out of
mistreating
gas.
this thing.
It was a
I
problem,
know.
right?
Spock, this episode, did, it's like the fucking Galileo 7 all over again. Spock isn't that great at being in charge. This is why Romulan Commander Lady, says you should be in charge, and he's like, I don't know about that. This has happened before, and I make stupid, dumb decisions. Like when he decides to show, I think he shows Kirk or McCoy, here's 2 rocks. One of them is the asteroid, one of them is us. If that keeps coming closer, it's gonna hit.
No, actually, I loved that scene. You know
It was
why?
the Sean Spicer scene.
I love that he, decided to condescend to dock with models. But then after that, after he has made his point, and they're just kind of staring at each other,
He's still moving the rock.
he's slowly moving it still. Like, that's snarky.
Yeah, McCoy threw them on the fucking ground and said, fuck you.
Good thing
Fuck
they
you
weren't
and your rocks.
I mean,
Good
honestly,
thing they weren't
though,
exploding
the
rocks.
stupid decision of the day award goes to Kirk. He's like, I'd like to know more about this planet. It's like, it'll still be there if you go and do your mission with the asteroid first.
That's my other question. Do they have half an hour to check out this planet before they have to rendezvous with asteroid at the point of no fucking return.
Yep.
We have to deflect it here or it's gonna fucking destroy the planet.
Yep.
Why? It's a half hour. A half hour. You should
You can't do dick in a half hour.
Yeah, you can't do much in a half an
I don't know.
hour.
Did you
and
guys-
a half hour they could spend getting to asteroid and doing a thing, because by the time they get there, I don't know how much time they spent looking for Kirk after he trapped himself in an obelisk.
There'd been multiple search parties.
They get there and they're out of time anyway.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, too, is, the Enterprise, had they not stopped for gas before they went on this mission? Because somebody should have been yeah, we're going to need all the power we can get. And Scotty would be like, well, our dilithium crystals are almost run out, so we better stop for some new ones.
Well, they had to get back to the asteroid so quick that they ran out, right? Because they spent...
Was that the explanation?
No, he blew it because they kept shooting at it, didn't they?
No, so part of the problem was
Did we all watch the episode?
Spock had
No,
them
I didn't see
at
it.
warp 9 for way longer than he should have.
Yes.
Which sort of then led them not...
Was that the we have to get to the asteroid immediately problem?
Yeah.
Because we spent so long
Looking for Kirk. And then that meant that they didn't quite have the full power they should have for the deflector array trick.
Okay.
And that's why they then tried to resort to the phaser thing. So that's basically rushing to the asteroid and holding warp 9 way longer than they should have is what caused the initial issue. Also, I don't know if anyone noticed during that scene, Scotty actually pops up to take a quick look at the dilithium crystals.
Yeah.
And it's the little paddle ones we haven't
Yeah.
seen since
Lazarus?
Lazarus and his stringy beard of gravy.
Ugh. Gravy beard.
Um,
Ames, to your point, though, he
Yes.
probably could have done everything that village had to offer in about half an hour. Let's be
yeah,
honest.
it's true.
Oh, they're here. Okay. I don't know. He really loved frolicking later. He frolicked for months.
I'm so happy.
That does explain to me, I think it's the first or second episode of Family Guy, where he meets William Shatner and they're frolicking in the rain, and he does this weird laugh, and it's that's from this episode.
Oh, that's what you were referring to, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I think that this whole episode, the whole issue with the asteroid could have been averted if they had just had a team of oil drillers.
Wait, I'm
And a
missing
really,
this joke. What?
really catchy Aerosmith song.
I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because this movie sucks. and it's really fucking bad. It can't be saved by Steve Buscemi. Even Billy Bob Thornton is shit in this movie now.
But somehow it's Criterion.
There's that goddamn 45-minute death scene where he's saying goodbye to the daughter, who is played by the actress who is also my daughter in real life, because I'm Steven Tyler, but it's actually Liv Tyler, and she's a terrible actress. And how the fuck did she get into the Lord of the Rings? Because god damn it, she sucks.
Was this a Tom Hanks movie?
You shut your whore mouth about Liv Tyler.
She's terrible!
She is not terrible!
She is a terrible actor.
She is not. Have you ever seen Empire Records? She's wonderful in Empire Records.
She's wonderful in the movies no one has ever heard about that she was in.
You've never heard of Empire Records?
Empire Records is a cult classic, Jake.
Well, I'm not in a cult, so I don't give a shit.
So,
Maybe you should
Ames, to your point, neither of these are Tom Hanks films, but Liv Tyler is in The Wonders, which Tom Hanks appears in.
Well, that's why I haven't seen it then.
That's not like the one. It's not called the one.
That Thing You Do.
That
That's
Thing You
right.
Do.
Jesus, I fucked
The
up.
name of the band is The Wonders.
The Oneaters at
That's
first.
right.
Who's even heard of That Thing You Do, Jake?
That's a good movie.
I've never heard of it.
Great Tom Hanks movie.
I have heard of it. I've heard of it.
You
That thing you
do.
The only words I know.
I don't know either. You know, people actually thought they were like a real band after that movie came out.
That's not a surprise.
Because that song became
So big.
a hit.
They should have done an MTV Making the Band series about it.
I'm sure they did. Actually, yeah, I'm not. I should tell you, I'm not going to talk shit about Liv Tyler's acting.
It's too
but
late. You already did.
That movie does not showcase anyone's acting.
Oh, I haven't
ability.
seen Armageddon.
You've never seen Armageddon?
I haven't.
I would say you should see it, but you really shouldn't.
I don't really plan to.
Go watch.
It never interested me.
Go watch Deep Impact. It's got Frodo, and it's way better.
Elijah Wood?
Yeah.
That's funny that Liv Tyler's in one and he's in the other.
That is funny.
Is it because we never see them together and they're actually the same person?
Yes. Maybe Peter Jackson really liked both films and was like, yes, I have to have both of them. But no joy in my films.
This episode, though, I think does suffer from a problem that several episodes have suffered from.
Jim Kirk not being a very good actor.
Not that, I mean, some have suffered from that, but
Calling Jim a god all the time?
not that. Not having enough plot for 50 minutes.
Oh, that, yeah.
Well, that's why there was so much goddamn frolicking.
Yeah.
And irrigation and 20
what-
minutes of wonderment at a lamp.
And watching Spock not napping.
I also feel like maybe there had been some editing problems, because I feel like they maybe should have been cutting back and forth between the Enterprise and the village more. Because at first it felt like, wait, Kirk, how long have you been here? Like a day and a half, and you're already marrying her? But I get the sense that maybe he was supposed to have been there for a while.
His
at that
sideburns
point.
came in. Did you not notice that? Did you?
I did
noticed
eventually.
that.
But yeah,
we
like,
know
there's
it
a
took
very
2
bad-
months to get from the asteroid.
Right, but that didn't become clear that time was that much time was passing until later in the episode. Like, I feel like they didn't make it plain early enough that more time had already passed on the planet. Like, in retrospect, it sort of became, okay, I think maybe he'd already... Well, I mean, even so, 2 months, that's quick, Kirk. That's right, Kurok.
Kurok!
God, the scene where
God,
Kirk
he
remembers
was
his own
so happy. That's,
Here's
this
an
is-
odd thing. So it's been 2 months. He married Miramani, like, immediately.
name. Yep.
Miramani, who was supposed to marry Salish, or
Yeah.
Salish?
Salish. I think it was Salish.
I can't remember how they said it, to be honest.
Salish, like
Let's say
Salish.
Salish.
What a jerk.
Like, how long has they been putting that off? Like, here, this is just Salish is terrible at everything he does. Like, he doesn't get the info from his dad, the medicine chief, about
Yeah.
how to work the gizmo.
Yeah.
He doesn't marry this girl immediately when they probably should have married way earlier
Yeah.
if he's been, if she's been betrothed to him for so long. He's just terrible at
Well,
everything.
and not only that, but he's like, after they have their little fight and he cuts Kirk's hand, he's like, I will not rest until I have proven to my people that you're not a god. Then he doesn't seem to show up again until the asteroid shows up.
When he shows up at his fucking teepee being like, holy shit, don't let us die with this bullshit.
Yeah, and it's just like, so you didn't try very hard in the
No.
intervening however long it's been.
Well, that's
have
because
you?
everyone can say, like, gods can bleed.
Yeah.
Who decided gods can't bleed?
Yeah. Of course, the
You
crowd...
decided this yourself.
He did get the crowd to turn on Kirk really quickly, though, at the end.
Oh, yeah.
But all they had were those styrofoam rocks.
Where did they all fucking come from, too? Were they just carrying those in their pockets?
They were just, just
They
ready.
suddenly had a shitload of rocks.
Someone to the stoning supplies closet.
One of the things that was funny about Salish was like Chris, like I because you said this thing, like Chris was like, oh man, he's definitely gonna seek revenge, right? And I was like waiting for it because then you kind of feel like he's definitely gonna get up to something because what's her name? Miramani, like breaking up their betrothal isn't even like the first thing that happens. Like he loses
makes
face
his
to
job
Kirk right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
well, this boy's dead.
Well,
I'm not going to make out with him, therefore he's dead.
Yep, so first he loses his job to Kirk, and then his fiance is like, I'm going to him instead. And then he's like, alright, but just so we're clear,
but if you could choose.
if it wasn't because of the laws, right? And she's like,
Oh,
I
it's so awkward.
Yeah, but that guy was such a meathead.
oh, he was awful. He was
Come
like,
on.
he was the anti-Ston. He was
Yeah.
like useless
No,
at
Ston
stealing
was
people.
also a meathead though.
Yeah, but he was good at,
Salish looked less like a Neanderthal.
he was like
Ston.
good at his job and stealing
Banging
people
to
away
Pring?
from people.
Yeah, no, that's his only job.
I mean, he's, I feel like, and DePring wanted him. DePring was like, he's better. So, Ston wins over this Brooklyn guy who's totally,
Yeah.
really a Native
I
American.
really believe this guy.
Chris kept making like jokes about him being a mob boss. So
I'm gonna get some of my buddies, Kirk, and we're gonna bust your fucking knees.
and I said, I'm gonna fit you up with a new pair of cement moccasins. And that's what Chris said. That was exactly what Chris said, Jake.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That was the thing. He was so like, I mean, yes, they were almost all obviously just honkies and bronzer, but he was the worst of just the like.
Yeah. I actually noticed, I was looking up to be like, who were the Native Americans? And the one playing the elder one, I forget his name.
Was he actually Native American?
No.
Damn it! I thought of anyone
But
there.
they
It might have
certainly
been
got
him
him to talk
No,
With a
Native
weird
American-y.
He apparently played a lot of Native Americans. Like whenever like a show needed your go-to Native American guy, he was it.
Oh, okay.
Without actually finding a real Native American.
Well, because I remember I said that while we were watching. I was like, I feel like if anybody is actually Native American, it might be that older guy. Because obviously the women were clearly not.
Yeah, but they had him. His character pissed me off the most because of the way his lines were written. Because it was all, at least at the beginning when we first meet him, I felt like he was doing the native talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
like you
absolutely.
White
said.
man, come from sky.
Well, yeah, like
It was-
and you
it was
even
horrible.
said like he was the only one with
Yeah.
an accent.
No one else bothered
Everyone
with
else
the
transatlantic.
accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except this
Or
one
Brooklyn.
guy.
Or from Brooklyn.
Or from Brooklyn, yes.
But we don't know which people the preservers took. It sounds like they took like one from each tribe and
Yeah.
stuck them together. There you go.
There were Native Americans in Brooklyn at one point.
Yeah.
For sure. So.
It's just funny that
I mean,
somehow, even though they're...
the Europeans bought Manhattan from Native Americans.
True.
For a handful of beads or some
Yeah,
shit.
some terrible
Fucking assholes.
thing.
You'd think even if they probably would have, yes, definitely had different accents and languages and stuff at first, like, after a couple of centuries, everyone would have developed
English.
the same accent.
Apparently.
But yeah, they had developed English somehow. But that aside...
I like to imagine
Parallel
that the preservers
development.
were like trying to get Native Americans, and they got a bunch of Native Americans and just some Guido from Brooklyn.
Guido.
We found this
With
guy
really
in
great
in
seed.
a pizza parlor.
Great seed. Yikes.
well, certainly the guy that played the Native American in the famous 70s Don't Pollute commercial. Did you know that one?
No.
The one with the tear.
The single tier guy, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
Oh.
yeah, that one where the guy like throws trash out the window and the Native Americans cry.
I've only seen references. I've never seen the actual.
That
one.
guy was actually Italian. Although he apparently like, but his thing was he actually lied. He said he was Native American. Like people were like, "Oh, it's authentic." We actually got it. So he was a con man, not just like Hollywood didn't give a fuck.
Oh.
I think I may be misremembering that, but that's how I've.
So let's go for it. Cause some slander right now. Just
He-
own it. He was
he's
definitely
dead
a
now,
fucking liar.
Again, I feel like we could go on for days about how problematic this episode is.
Yeah.
They
And-
didn't.
and
No
most
one fucking
episodes,
cared
indeed.
that kid drowned. They walk
Yeah.
in. Here's a kid. Well, he's dead.
Okay.
He will not move anymore. However, they said.
Only a god can give life.
Yeah. God. Stop it.
Yeah, no,
Stop it, Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
pretty- But yeah, no, not a great episode. Stopping a rock.
That's the thing. Like I said, all the
breaking
other stuff
into
aside, it's still just not good.
breaking into a laser
I
bunker
kind of
or
like
something.
the underlying story of the episode. I just feel that the execution
was terrible.
Between the Native American bullshit and then also the fact that it was clearly stretched out.
Yeah, well, that's the main problem, is that there wasn't enough story.
Yeah. I feel like they could have made a decent story, though.
They could have, even they just shown more of the building tension on the ship over the course of the 2 months.
I mean, the fact that the only sense that we have that there's issues on the ship is this 2 scenes with Spock and McCoy in Spock's quarters.
Yeah.
Where Spock's like, you gotta take a nap, and he lies down, wait till McCoy leaves, and then gets up.
Like a 5-year-old.
We do see so much Scotty, like, just freaking the fuck out, like, oh god, you want to go faster?
Apparently the Enterprise has lead in its construction. Because one of Scotty's lines when everything's going, this Vulcan won't be happy to all these circuits and a pile of lead! But I get a lot of radiation in space.
Yeah, well, the lead could also be from the solder.
Maybe. You think they'd have better stuff by then, though?
Yeah.
Lead's kind of, dodgy.
But don't you use lead to stop radiation?
Yeah.
Is that what you were saying?
Maybe it's radiation shielding.
And plus, these people are old enough not to be
True, I guess
ingesting
lead
it.
poisoning is more of an issue. And
Yeah, I could picture somebody walking in on Chekhov eating paint chips.
poor Chekhov.
Oh.
Fuck, this was last episode, but I thought of it now for some reason. According to Memory Alpha, the early story treatment that DC Fontana did for the Enterprise incident, and I'm sure she didn't intend it to be the final title, but it was a working title, Ears.
Well, did you notice the original title for this one was The Paleface?
Oh my god, no, I didn't.
Stop it.
And Miramani was supposed to have survived.
Actually, question, because I was wondering that. Mm-hmm. I was kind of wondering, because we were talking earlier about the fact she gets sort of conveniently killed. I kind of wondered if that was network pressure.
I don't know.
Because they didn't want Kirk to have had a bastard kid that he just leaves behind. Like,
yeah,
I feel like
especially
that's...
when we're like the very advanced white men that came to your noble savage planet.
Yeah.
We can't be the bad guys.
Yeah, like...
We can't, leave you pregnant and alone.
Yeah, I feel like that...
We'd rather leave you pregnant and dead.
Oh, God.
Well, we haven't talked about Spock's mind meld with Kirk at the end.
Mind fusion in this one.
Was it a mind fusion? Oh,
was.
goodness. It's been 2 episodes of Spock touching Kirk's face.
Touch of a Vulcan should be the theme of these episodes.
Oh, man.
That is a much better title
That's a
than
good
what I had
title.
in mind.
What was yours?
The Sexism and Racism Hour.
Yeah.
Oh.
Touch of a Vulcan, though. I like that.
It's like The Scent of a Woman.
Yeah. Hooah!
Starring Al Pacino.
Oh, my.
Touch of a Vulcan.
Get him on
I am
Discovery.
Kirok. I am Spock.
I am Spock!
Yeah, what was up with how he screamed Spock? I thought that was really weird, too.
Yeah.
This reminded me of that episode, or was it an episode of Batman where, remember you were telling me, Chris, about how Batman has someone, like, using telepathy on him and shit, and, like, controlling him by, like, making him think he's gone crazy.
Oh, no, it's not telepathy. It's Batman Beyond. There's an episode where this con man is trying to make Bruce Wayne think he's gone nuts by putting, like... Because the guy's, like, he's an expert in, like, sound waves and shit. So he can make, like, micro speakers, basically.
Right.
And, Bruce Wayne... He tried to make Bruce Wayne think he's hearing voices and things like that. And part of the reason he knows it's someone trying to fuck with him. He says at the end, he's talking to Terry McGinnis, the incumbent Batman. Terry's like, how did you know it was fake? He's like, well, the voice in my head kept calling me Bruce. And I call myself that.
So that made me think of that. I thought of that because of Kirk. Now, like from now on, he'll always be Kirok.
Yeah.
In his mind.
That scene too is that there are scenes that I feel like should have been more effective, but because so much of the episode hadn't quite worked, they just kind of fell flat.
Like what's her name's death scene?
Yeah, like McCoy not doing fucking anything for her.
Seriously, you can regrow a kidney with a pill. You can't fucking give her something to stop internal whatever.
Yeah, they get there. He obviously tends to Kirk first because he needs Kirk, and then they just give her some fucking like opium or some shit.
Here's what happened.
Done.
McCoy did the tricorder on her and saw that she was pregnant and was like, nope.
I know what Jim would want me to do here. Nope.
We've done this before. It's been awkward and weird. I've had to slap a woman.
We'll never speak of it again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it does, and it also is one of those things where the fact that this is not a serialized show is going to... I mean, it's the next episode. We'll never hear about Miramani again.
Nope.
Or, the fact that Kirk had this brief moment of happiness in his life, which, I don't know, kind of diminishes it. Because, I don't know, I would think that being madly in love with a woman and marrying her and knocking her up...
Yeah.
And as far as
Would
we
be
can
something that
tell...
When you get your memory back and you realize, oh my god, I had an entire different life, but this was still fucking real to me. This is still actually real life.
Yeah, it's not one of those TV plot devices where when you get your memory back, you then
Forget everything.
forget the stuff that had happened in the interim. He seemed to still remember it.
This is like when we had The Enemy Within, and he had to merge two sets of memories and be like, oh god, I'm a monster, and I'm not.
And again, like you said, never come up again.
Nope.
Yeah.
They even ended in a very more somber way than normal. They just kind of start the credits over him leaning sadly over her corpse,
Yeah, that
and
was
then
sad.
cut to ship. We don't know what happened between then. Hopefully, he stomped off and said, "Oh, by the way, here's how you run the thing."
You'd think.
They just he just pushes her body out the side of the ship with a note pinned to it.
Wow!
No, please cut that.
I don't know. That's pretty good.
Oh, it's not good. It's horrible.
Well, it's horrible, but it's wonderful.
It's good, horrible.
We're horrible people.
Fully funny.
Hey.
Actually,
That's what
no.
the
You know what?
people
Come to
want.
think of it, Doc probably did it. It was Doc who did that.
That a rascal fuck.
Oh no. Well, with that, this has been episode 30
Woo!
of A Star to Steer Her By.
Did I not woo at the beginning? I always woo.
Jake didn't say the
there was
number.
no
You
woos.
monster.
Oh, I didn't say the number.
You.
Well, we could go back and...
No, it's fine.
No,
beginning
we
part.
could. I'd love to. If we didn't lose our audience during that.
Yeah, there's like 2 people left. Hi, guys. Do please join us next week for And the Children Shall Lead. Oh, good.
Oh, those skips.
And Is There in Truth No Beauty? As always, do please find and like our Facebook page, A Star to Steer Her By. We are on Twitter and Tumblr as SSHB Podcast. Do please subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting app, and give us a rate and review on iTunes, and recommend us to your friends and your enemies. Why the hell not? Just recommend us to everyone. For A Star to Steer Her By, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
And this is always Jake.
Thank you for listening.
Be sure to tip your yeoman.
Sometimes it's not Jake. Sometimes it's weird caricature man.
Caricature man.
That's the fun parts.
So, I had a thought and it just imploded like so much fluff.
Fluff does not implode.
So it's like when a
It's
raccoon
spread on delicious
It's less that.
sandwiches.
It's more like when a poor raccoon puts
Candy floss in the
Yeah.
river.
Oh,
Oh, my
I
god,
saw
candy
that.
floss. What is it called here? Jesus Christ.
What
Cotton
is it
candy?
called? What is
Thank
it
you.
called here? I don't know, because I'm from England. Jolly old English. We
No,
call it
no,
candy
like-
floss and puppy bottles.
It's okay, I deserve that, but I literally couldn't think of the term cotton candy. I still can't think
Wow.
of it. I almost then called it candy canes just then.
All right, governor.
Cheer up.
so